Holy Spirit.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of death. Amen.
Behold the handmaid of the Lord.
Be it done to me according to your word.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of death. Amen.
And the Word was made flesh,
And dwelt amongst us.
Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of death. Amen.
Pray for us, O Holy Mother of God,
that we may be made worthy of the promises of Christ. Pour forth, we beseech you, O Lord, your grace into our hearts, that we, to whom the incarnation of Christ, your Son, was made known by the message of an angel, may by his passion and cross be brought to the glory of his resurrection, through the same Christ our Lord. Amen.
Kini ang simbianan sa RPN Radio Philippines Network DXKS DXKS 1080 ang inyong Radio Ronda 5,000 watts nagsimbiya sa ikatulong andana sa UFCO Lim Building, Borromeo Street, Dakbayan sa Surigao. RPN Radio Philippines Network DXKS 1080 ang inyong Radio Ronda.
I like to fix all these things na electronic, electrical. That is my passion. I want to build my own to able to look into the future, what's the technology roadmap. Whatever economic status of your life, you should have the faster, stable access to the internet. It's a digital rights to individual Filipino. Yun ang pangarap ko mangyari.
Good evening, I'm Pia Ontiveros. Welcome to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. Tonight on the program, presidential aspirants deny they are into drugs after President Duterte made a controversial allegation. They instead challenged the president to file charges. Business leaders appeal to the government, allow economic frontliners to get COVID-19 booster shots, but the health department says not so fast. And today is all about 30 as British singer-songwriter Adele drops her new album after more than 5 years. Well, President Duterte claims that among the presidential hopefuls, there is a drug user. While Malacanang says it's up to Mr. Duterte if he'll name the aspirant, some say the president should do more than just gossip. Our Trisha Tarada has details.
The chief executive dropped another controversial allegation. This time it's against a contender in the 2022 elections. President Rodrigo Duterte claims a presidential aspirant is taking cocaine. The president did not directly identify the aspirant but hints that he comes from a rich family.
There's even a presidential candidate na nag-cocaine. May kandidato tayo na nagko-cocaine yan. Yung mga anak ng mga mayaman. Kaya ako nagtaka ako, anong nagawa yung tao niya? I'm just asking. What contribution has he made para sa Pilipinas? And he is a very weak leader, ang karakter niya. Except for the name. tatay, pero siya, anong ginawa niya? He may twin hands down. Okay. If that is what the Filipino wants, go ahead.
Attorney Vic Rodriguez, the lawyer of Bongbong Marcos, told a radio interview that their camp does not feel they're being alluded to. Vice President Lenny Robredo and Manila Mayor Isko Moreno also denied taking illegal drugs. Both of them, along with fellow aspirant Senators Bongo and Manny Pacquiao, favor undergoing drug tests.
When do you want? Publicly? Yeah, why not? Kasi if a president will fight against drugs, no, as a matter of policy, then dapat talaga na kami rin, no? Ako, I don't mind.
Another presidential hopeful, Caliodi de Guzman, dares President Duterte to have the cocaine-using aspirant arrested. He also says the president must know the aspirant supplier. Robredo also urges the government to file charges if there's evidence.
Kung merong ebidensya, kailangan ilabas. Hindi dapat ito dinadaan sa ganitong paraan. Yung sa akin, I am sure yung presidente merong access sa maraming information na lahat tayo walang access. So, siya yung makakasagot kung ano yung mga pruweba tungkol dito.
It's unclear for now whether the government is investigating the presidential aspirant and his group, but Malacanang assures it's being fair.
Pagdating kasi sa droga, medyo very technical, no, ang nasa batas. At kailangan sundin natin lahat ng mga proseso at procedures pagdating po sa in any investigation and even in enforcement, even in arrest and seizure, lahat po yan. Kailangan sundin natin para hindi rin po tayo ma-technical pagdating ng pagsampa ng kaso.
Malacanang says it's the president's discretion to end the guessing game and name the cocaine user. Trisha Terada, CNN Philippines.
The Commission on Elections reiterates substance abuse is not among the grounds for disqualifying an aspirant. A drug test for them is also not required under the law. Commission spokesperson James Jimenez explains the poll body in a resolution required candidates to submit a negative drug test several elections ago, but that was declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court in 2008. Now, they're the so-called DDS or diehard Duterte supporters who have been fighting tooth and nail for President Duterte since 2016 until today. But now that there are two Dutertes joining the national race, the patriarch and the presidential daughter, where does that leave the DDS? Our senior correspondent David Santos spoke to some of them.
In this community in Mandaluyong City, it is not difficult to spot a supporter of President Duterte. They are among the 16 million who voted him to power in 2016. And while they have been loyalists for nearly 6 years, they are, however, eyeing a new leader to support come 2022, Bongbong Marcos.
Gusto ko maiba naman, mabago talaga.
Kahit sino naman ganin mo, kay Bongbong na talaga nga ipapanig eh.
Gawin niya nga katulad sa tatay niya, ma-okay ang Pilipinas.
Online, we spoke to another group of Duterte supporters. This time, they are sticking it out with the president, meaning they will back his endorsement of Senator Bongo.
Kasi siya lang talaga yung nakita naming senador na bumaba sa lahat ng nasunugan. So hindi ka plastikan yon.
If ever na may papasok na iba, panigurado mag-iiba yung setup, direction.
So ngayon lang po nagkagulo kasi nga po nandyan si Mayor Inday, nandyan si President Duterte. So kaya po nagkakagulo, meron pong undecided.
For days now, pro-Duterte chat groups and social media pages have been abuzz with exchanges on who will they support for president. Will it be Go, backed by the father, or Marcos, the daughter's running mate?
Wala po talagang awayan. Meron lang pong nakikipag-away doon sa social media, pero hindi naman po namin pinapansin.
The bigger question is the Duterte powerhouse now a house divided? For political analyst Michael Yusinko, the Duterte supporters to begin with are not as solid as they seem to be.
It was made up of different factions, different groups, and therefore, with different agendas, with different interests, they are in that stage of what's happening? Where will we go? So they're waiting for that clear direction.
This apparent division, Yusinko says, won't necessarily mean an advantage for other presidential candidates, but it somehow levels the playing field.
Karambola politics na tayo sa 2022, di ba? It's anybody's ball game.
But with still over 5 months before the elections, Duterte supporters say anything can still happen and that something might still be up on the Duterte's leads. David Santos, CNN Philippines.
President Duterte thumbs down a possible coalition between his party and the Lakas CMD of his daughter, Mayor Sara Duterte. Mr. Duterte says it will not happen because that will mean his party will also be allied with Marcos. The president called Marcos a weak leader, a spoiled child, and an only son. The COMELEC looking to regulate the use of social media during the 2022 campaign period. The platform is seen to be largely tapped to avoid COVID-19 super spread events in face-to-face gatherings. Starting February, the poll body will be lending its official social media pages for so-called e-rallies, where national candidates may air their events on a rotating basis. Now, those vying for the presidency and vice presidency may air content worth 10 minutes at a time, while senatorial bets and party list groups can secure slots worth 3 minutes long. The order of airing will be raffled off. Candidates and political parties must register with the COMELEC, their websites, and the links to all official social media accounts and blogs that they will be using for the campaign. Social media firms like Facebook are also asked to submit data about online ads paid for by the candidates, parties, or their donors. Candidates are still limited to the same rules on campaign spending. Presidential and vice presidential bets can spend 10 pesos per voter, or approximately 669 million pesos during the campaign season, based on COMELEC's estimated number of registered voters. The limit is at 3 pesos per voter for all other candidates with a political party, and 5 pesos for every voter for those running as independents. For physical sorties, parties must secure permits from the local governments where the event will be held, and strict COVID-19 health protocols must be enforced at all times. The COMELEC condemns the killing of an acting poll officer in the town of Lope de Vega in northern Samar. Based on initial investigations, James Diaz Maghanoy was gunned down by 2 unidentified men in Catarman while on his way home from work on Thursday afternoon. The 42-year-old victim sustained 2 gunshot wounds, including one in the head, before he died in the hospital. The motive behind the killing remains unclear. The COMELEC is now calling on authorities to leave no stone unturned in its probe into the murder and to ensure that those responsible are swiftly brought to justice. Up ahead, an official from the health department reminds the public only certain sectors can get COVID-19 booster shots for now. Some sectors call on the government, or some groups call on the government to step up against Beijing's aggression in the West Philippine Sea after a Chinese Coast Guard vessel blocked and water cannoned 2 Philippine supply boats in a Union Shoal. Details when we return.
Sangat na ang best tasting chicken daw kay TJ din? Walang duda na ang tender, ang juicy, best tasting chicken hotdog talaga. Chicken ang desisyon. Kids can tell, best tasting ang TJ chicken dog.
It's always exciting when mixing in a little flavor in your life. And with San Miguel flavored beer, this is no exception. The first fruit-flavored beer that San Miguel has ever brewed comes in 3 fun and sweet flavors. We've got apple, lemon, and lychee.
San Miguel flavored beer lemon has a distinct and pleasant citrusy aroma and a subtle lemony taste, complemented by beer-like attributes. Flavored beer apple is easy to drink, it is light, and it's got that red delicious apple aroma and taste. San Miguel flavored beer lychee is a smooth, light, flavorful beer with the delicate taste and aroma of fresh lychees.
And having a call-itan with your friends can be the pick-me-up that you need during these unreal times. No call-itan is complete without San Miguel flavored beer. With several flavors to choose from, you and your friends can't go wrong.
For my babies, only vet-approved Nutri-Chunks puppies. The only one with active boost and prebiotics na Pampalisto. Made with real meat with essential nutrients to help them grow strong and healthy. Happiness! Listo, ganado sa Nutri-Chunks puppies.
The future looks bright in the north.
Come December 2022, the Metro Rail Transit Line 7 is aimed to be completed by SMC Infrastructure.
Also known as MRT Line 7 or MRT7, this line will be 22.8 kilometers long, with 14 stations that can accommodate up to 650,000 passengers daily from Quezon City to San Jose del Monte, Bulacan, and vice versa. It is expected to reduce travel time down to approximately 35 minutes one way. With a total of 36 train sets or 108 train cars being procured from South Korea Hyundai Rodam, this rail will connect MRT3 and LRT1. Housing the trains is not a concern, as SMC's depot can hold up to 150 trains for future capacity expansion. As for the performance, factory acceptance testing for the initial 6 train sets or 18 cars was also conducted in South Korea. Once completed, MRT7 is seen to offer a faster and safer means of transportation and spur economic growth in the northern part of Metro Manila and the province of Bulacan.
Welcome back to Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. Clinical trials for the mix and match of COVID-19 vaccines are set to begin in the country. Science and Technology Undersecretary Rowena Guevara says the Food and Drug Administration has given the go signal for the study after finishing its regulatory review on Tuesday. She says screening of participants have also begun. Some 3,000 individuals are expected to take part in the trials. Pilot tests will be conducted in Muntinlupa and Davao City, but Guevara says no vaccines will be rolled out just yet. While the rollout of COVID-19 booster shots are underway for health workers, Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship Joey Concepcion wants economic frontliners to be included in the priority list. But the health department says only businesses in certain sectors have so far been approved for their third doses. AC Nichols has the details.
BPO employee Ann Juanilla works in an office for hours every day. She's fully vaccinated with her second dose received last July. Given the chance to get a booster shot, she says she'll take it.
For safety din po kasi yun eh. Kaya yun, mas maigi na rin po magkaroon ng booster.
The Food and Drug Administration has approved 4 COVID-19 vaccine brands to be used as booster shots for fully vaccinated individuals. But currently, the Emergency Use Authorization or EUA only covers priority groups, namely A1 health workers, A2 seniors, and A3 immunocompromised individuals. Administering booster shots for medical frontliners started early this week. Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship Joey Concepcion proposes that booster rollout be open to everyone. He says big companies have enough vaccine supplies to offer booster to their employees.
Ang sinabi ko kay Sec Duque, sana buksan na lang natin para sa lahat. And then yung public, isang lugar, pero yung fast lane para sa A1, A2, A3, may fast lane sila. Pagdating nila, diretso sila.
The health department says companies can use their extra vaccines as booster shots, but only to employees who fall under the priority groups covered in the current EUA.
Hindi po kayo pinapayagan para ibigay yan as booster doses to your employees, not unless they are part of the senior citizens or they are part of this list of immunocompromised states na inakalagay po dun sa Emergency Use Authority.
If the extra doses are expiring soon, the DOH advises companies to loan them to the government for the meantime.
Ang national government po ay pumapayag na kunin muna ang mga doses na nasa inyo at papalitan po namin yan ng fresh stocks kapag kailangan nyo na po dyan sa inyong kumpanya.
AC Nichols, CNN Philippines.
The Philippines will soon allow the entry of tourists from so-called green countries or areas tagged as low risk for COVID-19. There is no set date yet, though. But acting presidential and interagency task force spokesperson Carlo Nograles says the task force is finalizing the guidelines. 46 countries and territories are now on the green list.
We are This is the calibrated reopening of our economy. Malaking bagay po para sa ating economic growth and development and the rebound of our economy ang tourism sector. At dahil green list naman po yan, ibig sabihin nasa green list sila dahil mataas ang vaccination rate po nila doon sa green list country. Tayo rin naman po, mataas na rin po, tumataas ang vaccination rate natin dito sa bansang Pilipinas. Mababa na rin po yung mga na-infect ng COVID. And nakita nyo naman, we're really trying to boost up our economy some more.
Meanwhile, fully vaccinated travelers from low-risk countries no longer need to undergo swab tests or facility-based quarantine upon arrival, effective November 22nd. They only have to show their negative COVID-19 test result before the trip and monitor themselves for symptoms for 14 days. 4 days after lifting the mandatory wearing of face shields, the IATF clarifies employers and business establishments under alert levels 1 to 3 may still impose the policy on their workers and customers. On Monday, the President approved the recommendation to scrap the controversial requirement. Areas on alert level 4 may keep or lift the rule, while face shields are still required in hospitals and those under alert level 5 and granular lockdowns. Metro Manila mayors are leaving it up to the national government on whether to impose restrictions for unvaccinated minors outdoors. That's according to Sun 1 Mayor Francis Zamora. He says the Metro Manila Council signed a resolution deferring the decision to the Interagency Task Force after a meeting with health and cabinet officials. Zamora notes they discussed reports about a two-year-old boy who tested positive for COVID-19 days after visiting a mall.
Cannot be categorically said that this minor really got infected in the mall. No one can really point to the fact that this minor was infected in the mall. So the decision of the Metro Manila mayors is to defer to the wisdom of the IATF because they have experts, they have the economists, and it is best that they conduct further studies regarding this case.
President Duterte has called on local governments to pass ordinances limiting the entry of unvaccinated minors in malls just over a week after the government allowed children to go out under alert level 2. Now, the Philippine government urged to step up its stance against China's aggression in the West Philippine Sea after a Chinese Coast Guard vessel blocked and water cannoned 2 Philippine supply boats in Ayungin Shoal. Our Chisano Dalo reports.
China is now accusing the Philippines of trespassing after 2 supply boats attempted to transport food items to Ayungin Shoal on November 16. In a media briefing Thursday, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian said the Philippines did not seek permission to enter Ayungin Shoal. Beijing added its Coast Guard asserted territorial sovereignty. Foreign Affairs Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin Jr. says it's a free world and anyone can say whatever they want, but added it is what we do that matters. CNN Philippines tried to track down the crew members of the supply boats. Sources tell us that they are now in Palawan and in good health. The supply boats, however, are not in good condition with considerable damage to their outrigger. From a speed of 14 kilometers per hour, now it's down to 3.7 kilometers per hour because of the damage. Repairs must be made first before the team can resume its mission. The same team will return to Ayungin Shoal. In the meantime, a maritime law expert says China's intention is clear on Ayungin Shoal.
They've always wanted the Philippines to leave Ayungin Shoal, no? And tow away the Sierra Madre. Tagal na pinag-iinitan yan. In 2013 to 2014, after the standoff sa Scarborough Shoal, Ayungin Shoal became the focus of their attention. Talagang pinag-initan nila. If they cannot interfere directly with, say, the Navy or Air Force, what they're trying to do now is to starve the outposts essentially so that they will be the ones to voluntarily leave, no? And pag umalis na tayo, then that's the time that for sure papasukin nila yung shoal and they will take over.
Other experts point out the gap between China's diplomacy and what is happening on the ground. Former Foreign Affairs Secretary Albert Del Rosario says the country should take the 2016 Arbitral Tribunal ruling to the next level, which means exploring options to enforce it. A joint patrol with other allied countries must be considered. The Ayungin Shoal incident happened shortly after the Philippines and United States wrapped up a bilateral strategic dialogue which included addressing concerns on peace and stability and commitment to further improve the Mutual Defense Treaty. Due to the new and emerging threats in the South China Sea, the United States and the Philippines will be holding a maritime dialogue in 2022 to further strengthen the mutual defense treaty between the two countries. Tristan Udalo, CNN Philippines.
Facing 6 sex trafficking charges in the United States, Davao-based religious leader and spiritual advisor to President Duterte, Apollo Kibuloy, has been accused of threatening underage girls and other young women of eternal punishment should they refuse to engage in sexual acts with him. A sex trafficking scheme in his religious group reportedly took place from 2002 until at least 2018. The legal counsel of the group he founded released a statement denying the claims. They called the charges, quote, another vicious attempt to bring down Pastor Apollo Kibuloy. Presidential spokesperson Cardinal Dugrales said the country will cooperate if they receive requests for Kibuloy's extradition. Cebu City Mayor Edgardo Labella died earlier today. He was 70 years old. His son confirmed the cause of death was septic shock or a dangerous drop in blood pressure because of an infection. Labella was hospitalized for 23 days, suffering from pneumonia. The family said they are making plans for a public viewing under COVID-19 protocols. Labella previously served as Cebu City's vice mayor for 2 terms. Still on Newsnight, superstar singer Adele releases her first album in nearly 6 years, and singer Harry Styles is joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We get a sneak peek of his role as the brother of Thanos. We'll be right back.
Love is all about time. Di minamadali ang pagpapasarap. Like the love in every Pure Foods ready to eat. Slow cooked and ready in 8 minutes. Para may time ka sa mga mahal mo. Because love takes time.
Kabilang ba kayo sa mga Pilipino na nahihirapan sa mga transaksyon dahil wala o kulang ang mga valid IDs?
Huwag nang mag-alala dahil narito na po ang PhilSys, ang identification system ng bawat Pilipino.
Para sa Step 1 registration, pumunta lang sa register.philsys.gov.ph para makapag-register sa PhilSys online. Ito ang PhilSys, ID natin to.
Discovery Plus is here! Welcome to your new home of larger-than-life entertainment and unforgettable characters. Subscribe now at 129 pesos per month.
Namamasko po! This Christmas, we may not be celebrating the way we used to because of the ongoing pandemic. But there is still a lot to be grateful for. And definitely a lot of ways we can share the Christmas spirit with others.
Ngayong Pasko, bukod sa paghahanda natin ng salo-salo sa sarili nating tahanan, samahan niyo po kami ni Isa na mag-sponsor ng iba pang pamilya para sa kanilang Pure Foods Noche Buena. Mula sa halagang 800 pesos, maaari na tayong magbahagi ng Pure Foods Fiesta Ham, Tender Juicy Hotdog, TJ Spaghetti Sauce.
Your new favorite viands are also now made ready to eat by Pure Foods. Crispy fried chicken, caldereta, kare-kare, and many more. Your Noche Buena can be ready in as little as 15 minutes.
Wow!
Bilis!
Isang kompleto at masayang pagdiriwang ng Noche Buena ang naghihintay para sa inyo at para sa pamilyang reregaluhan ninyo ng Pure Foods Noche Buena Pack.
Ito ay mahahanap sa San Miguel Foods website. Magtungo sa thehub.sanmiguel.com.ph. Let us continue the spirit of Christmas giving so more of us can celebrate the season.
Sama-sama po tayong magdiwang ng Pasko! Buo ang Pasko sa Paskong Pure Foods!
Welcome back to CNN Philippines. Harry Styles' entry into the Marvel Cinematic Universe is official. Take a look at his new character poster The award-winning singer plays Eros, the brother of supervillain Thanos. Audiences were initially surprised at Styles' appearance in the star-studded movie Eternals, with his cameo revealed at the very last minute. But a month after the film's premiere, Marvel finally shows off his part as the Royal Prince of Titan. New releases from music legends Adele and Sting and a documentary about a Beach Boy are in today's Hollywood Minute. CNN's Rick Damigella has the stories.
Adele's new album is out now. 30 is the 4th studio recording from the British singer-songwriter. The music video for the single Easy on Me has surpassed 163 million views since it premiered on YouTube in October.
Jumped out of bed this morning with a smile upon my face.
Also just released is Sting's new album, The Bridge, featuring this tune, If It's Love, which marks the first time Sting has whistled in a song.
I define a hit song when people are whistling it, like window cleaners or people painting houses or cab drivers. When they're whistling your song, that's a hit. That's a real hit. So I thought I'd bypass the whole thing and start whistling myself. And I haven't done it on record before, so it's quite a revelation to me as well.
The idea of doing an interview makes Brian nervous.
Rolling Stone editor Jason Fine came up with a clever way to make Brian Wilson feel more comfortable during interviews for the documentary Brian Wilson Long Promised Road. Driving, talking, and listening to music.
For me, I mean, driving around LA with Brian is just a great, good time. We just have a good time listening to music and talking about, telling stories, talking about our families a lot.
Right. That must have been a really exciting time.
It was. The film is out now in theaters and on VOD. In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
30 has since gotten rave reviews from critics, and hashtag Adele topped Philippine Twitter trends less than an hour after the album's release. We have 36 more days before Christmas, and that is it for tonight. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines.
Kini ang simbianan sa RPN, Radio Philippines Network, DXKS. DXKS 1080. Ang inyong Radio Ronda. 5,000 watts nagsimbiya sa ikatulong andana sa UFCO Lim Building, Borromeo Street, Dakbayan sa Surigao. RPN, Radio Philippines Network, DXKS 1080. Ang inyong Radio Ronda.
Does your stomach feel full, tight, or swollen after a meal? Chances are you're probably bloated. Bloating causes the belly to look larger than usual, and it may also feel tender or even painful. It has a lot to do with what you eat and how quickly you eat. On today's program, we'll talk about why and when bloating happens. We want to help you better understand the care you need and deserve. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and you're watching MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. Bloating can get in the way of work or day-to-day activities, and it's common among both children as well as adults. To talk about this and more, let's welcome our guests. With us is Dr. Eric Yasay. He's a gastroenterologist and clinical associate professor at the UP-PGH. Also with us is Dr. Maricar Esculto-Can. She's an internal medicine specialist and clinical nutritionist from the Makati Medical Center. Now, gas is the most common cause of bloating. It builds up in the digestive tract when you inhale air or when undigested food breaks down. I'll start the discussion first with Dr. Eric. Dr. Eric, what are the causes of increased gasiness? Yung mga common causes nito?
Well, yung bloating na can represent increased gas production in our body. In the vernacular, it is more commonly described as tabag, empacho, or hindi natunawan. So pinakamadalas, bloatedness or the sensation of feeling of fullness occurs after eating or drinking sweet kapag napainom ng marami or nakakain ng madami yung mga pasyente natin. It is caused because of increased acid production and gas formation when our body starts to digest food. No? So yun yung mga most common. And then other than that, of course, we also think about decreased clearance of gas or kung mabagal yung paglabas ng gas sa ating digestive system or kung may blockage dun sa digestive system. These things can either increase your gas production or decrease your clearance of gas in your GI tract.
So is it mainly that? Ganun ba kasimple na pagpapalit mo lang ng bilis ng pagkain, will this be able to alleviate bloating?
Most commonly, nalipasan niya ng gutom or walang time kumain. That's why ang bilis natin kumain. And sometimes, kapag bumabawi, yan yung tinatawag ko sometimes to my patients, actually is the reason why you produce more gas because you have to put out more acid and digest food. And then that will give you more gas than more than the speed of eating per se. And then, of course, kapag namamadali, you tend to eat in gulps, so mas madami yung nasaswallow na air. So that can also add to that.
But you may also be feeling more bloated than usual these days, and the latest culprit is, of course, stress. Ngayon, Dr. Maricar, paano ba nagkakos ng bloating ang stress? Halos lahat ng tao very stressful nowadays.
Okay, so usually when we are stressed, we tend to seek foods that are salty or sugary, no? Sometimes referred to as your comfort food. So it is another contributory factor to bloatedness, which is the character of the food. So if you will eat foods that are high in sugar and salt, but low in fiber, such as highly processed foods, because they can slow down the transit of the food in the GI tract. So also, when you eat these processed foods, you tend to drink carbonated sodas also, like soft drinks, or some people sparkling water. So these drinks are infused with carbon dioxide that can aggravate actually the bloatedness.
But I'd like to talk about cigarettes naman and how this affects not just your stomach or bloatedness, but the entire body. Because when smoke is inhaled, it also enters the stomach and it goes through the blood system. The elements of the cigarette goes all the way around the body and it can cause bloating. Now, my question is, Dr. Maricar, how do cigarettes affect someone's bloatedness?
So perhaps I think it has something to do with the inhaled air that causes the bloatedness whenever a person smokes.
Now, I'd like to talk to Dr. Eric. What other factors do Filipinos commonly do that can contribute to bloating?
Well, madami tayong habits, no, as Filipinos. So we are very fond of buffets. No, well, probably the pandemic has decreased that episodes of buffets, but our eating styles and habits actually can add to the risk of developing bloating. So, madalas tayo nagpapalipas ng gutom when we're busy, and then we overcompensate by eating a lot after when we have time to eat. And then, yun nga, takot tayong magutom yun yung culture natin So that's why we tend to eat more than we should, and that causes bloating.
Fiber is essential for a healthy diet, and it's best known for its ability to prevent or relieve constipation. But high-fiber food can cause some to produce excessive amounts of gas, causing bloating. Dr. Maricar, what are some examples sa mga pagkain na mataas ang fiber?
Some clues to look for if you want to choose high-fiber food items. So when you see the word whole grain, whole wheat, and bran, whenever you choose your bread, your rice, or your cereal, so that means that you are choosing high-fiber options. In terms of fresh fruits naman, I advise them to choose the fruits that are pulpy or those that are usually eaten with the skin, such as your apples, or fruits with fibrous flesh, such as your pineapples and your mangoes. So for the vegetables naman, they are usually your leafy greens. And of course, you also have your nuts and seeds, which are also included in your high-fiber list.
Now, how does light exercise naman after eating? How can this help reduce that feeling of bloatedness for some people? Now, a lot of people might think exercise, when they think of exercise, it's something really rigid. But a light walk, a short walk, is this a simple activity with a lot of benefits?
Yes, actually, when you do physical activities, such even short walks around the block, it can stimulate movement of your bowels, which can facilitate the movement of the trapped air. So it can be helpful.
A lot of our viewers say that ginger naman is also said to reduce bloating. Is there any truth to this, Maricar? Marami bang benefits ang ginger in the form of maybe tea to help those who have frequent bloating episodes after eating?
Actually, I come across 2 studies relating ginger and bloatedness. So basically, the mechanism is that ginger aids in speeding the emptying of the stomach, as well as relieving patients who have functional dyspepsia. So that's the population of the patient that they investigated. But for these studies, what they used are ginger capsules. So the dose is at 1 to 1.5 gram in divided doses per day were used. So the authors of the study also included in the conclusion that ginger tea, so ginger in the form of tea, may also offer similar benefits, but they were not able to do a study using the tea.
Dr. Eric, meron ba kayong mga tips para sa mga viewers para mas ma-minimize ang kanilang feeling of bloatedness pagkatapos nilang kumain?
Apart from small frequent feedings, no, so wag kumain ng sobrang dami. Tama yung sinabi ni Dr. Maricar, no, to walk, no, because the pull of gravity can help bring down the food to the lower parts of the GI tract. Yung iba kong sinasabi to my patients would be to do a food diary. So what is a food diary? It's a list of food of your triggers. Very important yung food diary because the triggers are different from person to person, no? So hindi naman pwedeng diktahan natin na ito yung one size fits all, na ito yung kakainin at hindi. What actually is more useful is a person to do his or her personal food diary of food triggers so that ito yung mga iwasan ng food.
Now, bloating is not always from eating too much or too fast, as earlier mentioned, but sometimes there could be a health issue behind it. We'll talk about this and more when we come back. We're together in health.
Protektahi ang imong mga mata batok sa delikado ug makadaot nga ultraviolet nga silaw sa adlaw ug uban pa. Pinaagi sa pagsulob og eksakto nga prescription sa antiyohos o antipara. Likay ang mga simptomas sama sa hanap nga pananaw sa layo o duol nga basahon, sakit sa ulo ug uban pa nga makaapekto sa atong kahimsog nga ang hinungdan depekto sa atong mga mata. Alang sa kumpleto nga primary eye care, contact lenses, fashion eyewear, computer eyeglasses, sunglasses, accessories ug uban pa, adto kita sa AG Buñuel Optical Clinic. Ang AG Buñuel Optical Clinic nagpahinumdum kanato nga ang kahimsog sa atong mga mata usa ka prioridad nga angay ipa-check up kausa matag tuig aron pagsiguro nga luwas kita sa peligrong mga sakit. Pinaagi sa lisensyado og qualified optometrists nga maoy mo prescribe sa eksaktong kagamitan ug kung primary eye care ang pagahisgutan. Duaw lang silang buhatan sa 3636 sa Nicolas Street, Surigao City ug adunay ilang extension office sa Aurelianida Street, Cantilan, Surigao del Sur. Ayaw kalimti higala, AG Buñuel Optical Clinic.
Ang AG Buñuel Optical Clinic doon na branch dito sa lungsod sa Dapa sa may Lupis Haina Street, Poblasyon Dapa, Surigao del Norte.
Ang AG Buñuel Optical Clinic dinhi sa siyudad ng Surigao no transfer na sa bag-ong location sa Nicolas Street Ragyahapon, tapad sa Garcia Hotel at bang sa Unicity. Ang Riverside Parts Master Incorporated na sa ilang bagong location sa Dalan, Burgos ning atong syudad. Mahimo niyong tawagan sa telephone number 231-7478 or 826-3663. Mga produkto nga inyong mapalit, genuine, Makita Power Tools sama sa planer, drill, grinder, Triton paints, construction supplies, angle bars, flat bars, GI pipes, automotive spare parts, Firefly electrical devices sama sa switches, bulbs ug outlets. Adto ang Riverside Parts Master Incorporated sa ilang bagong pwesto sa Dalan, Burgos ning syudad. Makahangyo ka o makabarato pagyod diha sa Riverside Parts Master Incorporated.
RPN Radio Philippines Network, Radyo Ronda DXKS Surigao, member kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Bloating is usually normal, but it can also be something serious. How will we know if it's just a nuisance or a cause for concern? I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and you're watching MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines, where your care comes first. Dr. Eric, what are some of the medical conditions that may cause bloating?
The other conditions that can cause bloating would be mechanical conditions. Ibig sabihin, pag may bara sa digestive tract. No? So this happens when you have inflammation of your GI tract or if you have tumors of your GI tract. Like for example, if you have colon cancer, the gas gets trapped inside at hindi makababa yung gas doon and you will feel bloatedness. So another condition would be what we call paralysis of the GI tract. No, we call it ileus scientifically. No, pero a lot of patients who are bedridden, who suffer the stroke, who have severe infections or uncontrolled diabetes will have a slowdown of the movement of the GI tract. Kaya natatrap din yung air inside. No? So these are just some of the medical conditions that have explanations.
Now, a person with food intolerance has a difficulty digesting certain foods. And this is different from a food allergy, which results from an immune system reaction to a specific food. Dr. Maricar, how can a person tell if their bloating is caused by food intolerance?
So actually, there are tests that we can do. I refer my patients for them to have the food intolerance test, so which is actually a blood test wherein the patient's blood will be extracted and then it will be analyzed if they have an intolerance to certain food items. So usually there's a panel of food lists and then food items are interpreted if they should be eliminated or they can be eaten in moderation by the patient or they can continue to consume these certain food items.
We've been talking about bloating for a while, but a lot of people, when they hear about bloating, they also may associate it, especially women, during the part of their menstrual cycle. Dr. Maricar, is this the same thing? How can a woman tell if it's bloating or weight gain?
Okay, so that's a very challenging question, but perhaps I think the best way to determine if the bloating is just caused by hormonal etiology is to observe if it is associated with other symptoms of your premenopausal symptoms such as mood changes, any discomfort that you feel in the hypogastric area.
Meron bang mga gamot na pwedeng regularly tinitake ng mga tao that may cause bloating?
Yes, so madami talaga. So very common dyan would be your pain relievers. No? So syempre, of course, a lot of them would be over the counter and our patients will not know na these medications actually decrease the protections that we have against acid. Examples of this would be aspirin, mefenamic acid, celecoxib, diclofenac, naproxen. Yan. Very, very common yan sa amin to see patients with that. And then the other medications that sometimes are over the counter and are abused would be the medications against diarrhea. Of course, di ba kapag may diarrhea ka, mabilis yung paghilab ng tiyan mo, you want to stop that. No? So that's why you take Buscopan or Imodium or loperamide. No? So this naman has the side effect of paralyzing your GI tract and then hence trapping air and causing bloatedness.
Okay, so temporary bloating shouldn't be a cause or worry, but anyone with bloating accompanied by other symptoms should see a doctor. When we come back, what else can you do about your bloating concerns? Stay with us. Your health is our mission.
Maayong balita sa tanan sa atong panginahanglan sa panimalay, mga gamit, ingon man mga dekorasyon, pwede na natong mapalit diha sa Wellington Bazaar. Anausab sa Wellington Bazaar ang mga bestidahon, karsunison, plain t-shirt, plastic chair, floor mat, mantel, banig, folding bed, habol, mosketero, trapal, lideret, basketball, stuffed toys ug mga dulaan sa bata. Ang Wellington Bazaar ana magalagad kanato sa dalan Kaymo ning Dakbayan sa Surigao. Wellington Bazaar, gikan sa mga kawani ug tigdumala sa Wellington Bazaar. Mayong adlaw alang kaninyo. Wellington Bazaar, sukiyon ta sa kanunay.
Ay, kasakit yun sa ako ang mga mata. Uy, labad pagyud kay ako ang ulo. Murag kog malipong ba? Unya, murag limtanon pagyud ko. Unsaon man ni, uy.
Naa na gyud kay problema, miss. Ha? Tanawa gud nagsakay ka sa tricycle, wala kay suot bra. Para masolba na imo problema. Ha, pag inom man ni Bloating Plus.
Unsa? Bloating Plus? Asa man nimo gikan?
Ako man ninadunggan sa radyo, miss. Mao ang kapalit ko naan pagpagandam ba.
Sige, salamat kaayo ha. Magpalit dayon ko og Bloating Plus.
RPN Radio Philippines Network, Radyo Ronda DXKS Surigao, member kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
In most cases, the symptoms of bloating can be prevented by adopting a few healthy lifestyle changes. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. We're your connection to healthcare. Swallowing air can be one reason why you're bloating, and there are a number of things that you can also avoid. And one of those we've been talking about is carbonated drinks, for example. Dr. Maricar, we've been talking about carbonated drinks, bawal ito, high salt, high sugary foods. What else? What other common foods do Filipinos eat na nakakapag-contribute sa bloating?
Actually, isa sa hindi namin na-mention kanina, yung chewing of gum. Usually, it also causes bloatedness because when you chew gum, you also swallow air. Eating in a rush. So, yon, kumbaga contributory din, which I think it was already mentioned na rin kanina.
Okay. Now, when it comes to home remedies, Dr. Maricar, meron ba kayong masasuggest sa mga viewers for those who feel simple bloating for that matter? Is there something at home that they can do to relieve that sensation?
Okay. So, aside from the dietary factors which we have already discussed, so some experts may also recommend to do certain exercises, di ba? Even at home. Kasi even if we encourage the patient to walk, it's difficult with our current restrictions. Okay, so there are some experts who say that there are certain yoga poses that the person can do to facilitate the relaxation of the hips and lower back, to facilitate the release of the gas that build up in the colon. So there are also abdominal massages that can be done. So usually it is done in a circular clockwise motion, starting from the right anterior hip bone, going up across the rib cage, and then down to the left anterior hip bone and across the hypogastric area or the puson area. So you can do circular motions. But I would just like to remind that if you will do these exercises, at least give your stomach a time to empty. So that usually takes mga 2 to 3 hours. So if after that interval, you still feel uncomfortable and you still feel that there is trapped air in your tummy, so you can try to do these maneuvers at home.
Okay, very good advice. First time I heard of those exercises. I'm going to try that next time I feel bloated. Now, Dr. Eric, the whole point of trying to relieve the symptoms of bloating is try to let the gas out, try to release that gas. But are there medications that you prescribe your patients who have a more difficult time, those with bloating sensations that last for more than 2 to 3 hours?
We first try to analyze what causes the bloating. So if it's hyperacidity, we give antacids, or acid suppressants. So if there's a motility problem, ibig sabihin hindi gumagalaw talaga yung bituka, we can give prokinetics. So some of this would be, our viewers will be more familiar with Placil, like metoclopramide and domperidone, or motilium. So these are just some of the medications that can make your GI tract move. Others would be yung mga antispasm naman. This would be, of course, relying on a diagnosis. So it's very important na before you self-medicate, you try to analyze first kung ano talaga yung nararamdaman, especially if you've alarm symptoms na bumabara yung bituka.
Dr. Maricar, before we go, do you have any advice for our viewers with regards to the proper diet or what kind of diet para ma-minimize naman ang bloating?
We usually recommend talaga an individualized diet approach. Okay, so we emphasize that there is no one-size-fits-all diet. We can give you the general recommendations as we have mentioned earlier. But if you want a more tailor-fit or customized diet, so you can keep a food diary and then you can consult a registered nutritionist dietitian. You can show them the food diary so that they can prepare a good diet plan that is appropriate based on your condition.
And Dr. Eric, any parting words or advice for our viewers when it comes to minimizing bloatedness?
Well, ako, siguro probably aside from stopping smoking would be your food habits. So be aware that we want small frequent feedings. Don't skip your meals. Yan naman yung usual advice. And then of course, when you develop alarm symptoms, seek consult right away.
And we're glad you could have joined us here on MedTalk Health Talk. Thank you, gastroenterologist Dr. Eric Yasay and clinical nutritionist Dr. Maricar Escultocan. Bloating is rarely a symptom of something serious. For most people, the remedy is simple. Control portion sizes, eat less fats, and eat slow enough as well as stop smoking. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. We're here to help build a healthier future for you.
RPN Radio Philippines Network. Radyo Ronda DXKS Surigao.